start the recording. So very good afternoon, good morning or good evening, depending on where you're following us. Dear colleagues, my name is Katarzyna Szybkova, and I am speaking here as at the opening of the webinar. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you all here at the webinar entitled Chemicals Management for a Healthy Future, that is organized in the auspices of the HERA project in the series of the Research for the Green Deal series. The HERA project is the EU-supported project from the Horizon 2020 that is tasked in preparation of the next research agenda in the field of environment, health, climate change nexus for next decade. And we also hope that the discussion that will be held and presentations that will be held at this webinar will be of use for you and for us to enrich the material that we are preparing and finalizing for this year. I am also very glad that many of you have decided to participate in this webinar. We currently have 47 spectators enrolled, and they have that also shows an interest in the chemicals management and in the area or importance, because of course we've advertised it as it is a research for chemicals strategy for sustainability. That's a document that has been published last year in October, and this month at the beginning of June there has been an EU Green Week, which have been also focusing a lot at the contamination, and out of the 39 activities that have been organized in the Green Week, 20 of them really did explore the chemicals and health effects. And of course, it's also logical that the plan for the zero pollution strategy actions were published previously in May. So it's also logical that these activities have really taken a lot of interest among the EU stakeholders, and it's also important to capitalize on the experience. So the EU chemical strategy, of course, focuses on well-known challenges such as endocrine disruptors regulations, widening of scope of sharing information on chemicals, or including improvements in the risk assessment of chemicals in the European Union, better use available data, including those generated by researchers, or also harmonization and benefiting from the experience and facilities available in the European research infrastructures. So what I would like to say before we come to the substance
represent a combination of issues that require integrated approach at a pan-European level, meaning East and West, North and South. So not only developed, less developed, but everybody, if we want to make progress when we talk about topics, as it is the topic of today's webinar. Now, in the heart of this approach, of course, is the exposome, taking a holistic view through human lifetime on the effect of exposure to diet, lifestyles, and environment and human health disease. So this exposome is obviously something that is approached by numerous research projects funded by EU, but also at the national level. And then there are several networks, such as the one on HBM for Europe and EMEP, that can take an advantage of this approach. So this was there, and this was when the first time ESPRI was put forward to be considered to be put on the ESPRI roadmap. But the first application was not successful. But the second one, ESPRI, that I'm going to talk about now is there. So we all know about the exposome being the cumulative measure of environmental influences and associated biological responses throughout the lifespan, including exposures from the environment, diet, behavior, indigenous and endogenous processes, as the definition says. But what we are dealing here is really in the life course dimension, integrating external and internal exposome with everything that is included here, and it's very well known to all of you because you are experts in this area. Now, how is this HERA research infrastructure that is coordinated by Verese Toxiana Klanova in particular and her team, what is actually takes together? And it's very relevant, I mean, to tackle this needs that were identified there. As you can see, in the heart of this is the exposomic, epigenetics, metagenomics, metabolomics, proteomics, combined with targeted and non-targeted screening methods for looking for not only for pollutants, but for looking for best markers of exposure, markers of susceptibility, and markers of effect. And of course, we have to have inventories of lab, good sample management and traceability in this, and a horizontal level, there has to be the methodological harmonization and good set of QA, QC approaches. Not talking, of course, also the need for education in this area, not only at the postgraduate level, as Oke said, but also at postgraduate and continuous education of professionals in this area and all of those that can take the benefit of this. I don't think we have time to go in any of the detail here that is explained, but what this very nice picture that is produced by Resetox really shows is that HERA fill this gap in the puzzle. There are many other research infrastructures such as Actris, ICOS, Metrofood, and others that deal with monitoring networks. Then we have biobanks, clinical and epi studies, and all of this can then come together that then on the right side, as you can see, come to some integrative analysis, and that this can then indeed make a very good input for the user communities that on one hand side, of course, provide information about the needs, but then also once we have all of these data and possibilities to integrate this data and analyze and use the knowledge out of this using all these novel approaches, of course, then we make a significant progress here. So what the key HERA effects are, so it's about the research infrastructure for environmental exposure assessment in Europe. As you can see, there are 17 national nodes planned here with 50 individual partners already. You can see the countries, but not only Europe, there is very close cooperation with USA. There is already 9 official political support, 9 national projects, 5 financial supports, and 2 national roadmaps that have put already this on the picture. Even prior, HERA was put on the ESPRI roadmap. Now, many countries, in their own countries, the policy is once this is on the European roadmap, then at the national level, the countries will, of course, consider this to put on the national roadmap as well. Many countries, including Slovenia, where I come from, work on these principles. So they don't take the initiative, but they do take the initiative after something is approved, which is a strange approach, but that is the way it is. What we see from this map is very much Central European, Northern Europe, and let's say Southern Europe, but large part of Eastern part of Europe is not included here. So having a research infrastructure that will be shared and being available to all of this, and this can of course enlarge in the future, is going to be a great possibility for not only advancing science in human exposome and support chemical strategy for sustainability, but will, of course, enhance collaboration between European countries. I mean, talking about the whole of geographical scale. And here, I would like to finish with something that I think it is very nice to mention. When Jana was, in fact, contacted by the committee in Brussels, she got a number of questions, among which I find this one very important to mention at today's webinar, is how the HERA will approach the risk due to the fact that there are many other projects and programs programs in Europe already in the field of environmental monitoring networks and databases like AMEP, GMP, GMOS, and then geo initiatives, geo projects, geo monitoring initiatives, and all of that. And what is the answer here is really that there is a strong need for interdisciplinarity in science. Obviously, it has been stated in the strategy on the roadmaps already by ESFRI themselves. The consortium is interdisciplinary, and many of the partners are already, they already have demonstrated experience in testing approaches in the EU programs through either HERA-NETs or European Joint Programming and stuff like this. GMP supported by UNEP, WHO, we have heard about this. And then there are many others, such as HERA Planet, for example, and AgriFood, which are also close to this. Now, HBM for Europe has to be mentioned here, because going from the COFES, COFES, and all of this process through the HBM for Europe, and then going into the Horizon Europe partnership, which is under the preparation now, this really means that environment and human exposure risks are going to be put together, and this research infrastructure is just timely and on the right time. And obviously, there is going to be, that will be a platform for enlarging the sustainability, accessibility of existing capacities to wide research communities in Europe and worldwide. And with this, I think I'm not going to go into this, I will skip this. I would also like to say that HERA also has some research goals that are very, very relevant to this and fit exactly into what HERA is addressing, which means it's just a perfect match. And one is on the development of laboratory capacities for assessment of chemical exposome and its functional impact, and the well-designed and maintained population cohorts and related biobanks. So basically, the whole society and most of the people present today are in that or another way connected, being partners in HERA or HERA or in any of these projects. Things move forward, and I think this is very, very promising in reaching these goals that are set in the Green Deal wording. So thank you very much for your attendance and listening, and I hope I can answer some of the questions. If not, we will pass them to Jana or to Katarina or Katka, who is also from the Recitox. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Milena. Yes, I think that there is really a huge effort to congratulate to anyone who has been involved in and making the road of IRENE, to get through. So let's hope we will also be as successful in the implementation. So thank you very much, Milena, sharing with us your experience and expertise in relation to ESFRI and the need for cross interdisciplinary collaboration in the field of environment and health. And because of the time, I think we will save the question in the discussion part. And Shimon, I made you a presenter, so Before you set up your slides, let me present you. So our next and last speaker in the presentation part is Szymon Domagalski from Poland. He is acting head of unit for international instruments from the Department of Risk Assessment for Bureau of Chemical Substances, which is the Polish competent authority for chemicals, full stop. And Szymon is also experienced government delegate at the EU and global level, and he currently represents Central and Eastern European region in the Bureau of the Global Framework of Chemicals Management, SAICHEM, which stands for Strategic Approach on International Chemicals Management. And Szymon will share with us his experience and importance how to share the scientific expertise and also global collaboration, because this is also one of the goals that the European Union has written in the EU chemical strategy for sustainability, that it needs to be enlarged and the voice of the EU should be more heard. So Szymon, with these words, the floor is yours for your presentation.
Thank you, Katka, for your kind introduction. Thank you for having me here. I have to tell you that you give me a very hard task to elaborate both on the science and policy interface from the global perspective of SAICHEM and the work done during this intersessional process to establish a new Beyond 2020 framework, and also to respond to the new level of ambition created by European Union in the Green Deal and this new European strategy for sustainability. And I have to admit that also the expectation of the science is different, and it depends on the first level of ambition, and secondly, how the objective which is put. Let me go to my presentation then. I would like to start from the presenting you the global context and introduce you this SAICHEM. Katka already mentioned this is the strategic approach to international chemical management. If you're not familiar with it, it's like a global framework which is aimed to deal with all chemicals management issue not already covered by the chemicals and waste conventions. So basically, there's overarching theme of that. And here we have overall objective of SAICHEM, which was to achieve the sound management of chemicals through the life cycle, so that by the year 2020, chemicals are produced and used in the ways that minimize significant adverse impact on the environment and on human health. So we see that the main goal was to minimize the significant adverse impact. And that this is relevant because when we will be discussing the EU policies, we will see that the tasks and the expectation of the science in this field is much higher in the European level than it is here. I had the pleasure to co-chairing the contact group, which was dealing with the science policy interface during intersessional process, and however, we was not able to find the conclusion because we was on those time waiting for the report preparing by UNEP, requested in the UNEP resolution 4/8, which asked the UNEP to prepare the assessment of the options of the strengthening the science policy interface at the international level. And here we have some of the proposed recommendation proposed in the report. There is three options which was developed as a potential way forward. First one was create an independent platform similar to the IPBs for the biodiversity or our IPCC for climate. So this is a big independent structure. Second one was the institutionalizing the outlook development process, which is similar to what we have now in the chemicals world. We had two global chemical outlooks. I was happy enough to be in the group to which we prepared those outlooks. And I'm using it a lot during my work. I don't have like you the science background. I'm the professional civil servant, so I don't have a really deep knowledge on the chemicals. But the chemicals outlook is the perfect tool for the people like me to go and look for the certain information I need to find the reasoning for the actions, or look for the places for the areas which need further development. And the third option was the thematic subsidiary panel with especially task force. So that might be something similar to what it is now in the SciCam, that there was an emerging policy issue which was nominated by the governing body of SciCam, and then it could be followed by the specialized, for example, reports on the task which we gave to those panels. Then those recommendation was taken during this intersessional process, which is the process which is going from now, from the to support the preparation of the future framework of the next step in our way to improve chemicals management. And this virtual working group they confirmed the need that some form of the science policy interface is needed in the reference to chemicals management, of course. The mechanism designed to meet this need should be inclusive, and all relevant stakeholders and sectors should be there. And the science policy interface should not be policy perspective, which means that it should respond to the policy, the question asked by the policy, but it shouldn't be the answer shouldn't be driven by the policy perspective. And there's still remain outstanding question how to address those science policy interface, whether it should be addressed in the new Beyond 2020 instrument, which is currently developed, or whether it should be I don't know, even broader to like those external panels, but those solution will need a higher political support. Now I would like to elaborate a little bit about the new EU chemical strategy. This document, together with the European Green Deal, give us bigger pictures and rise the level of ambition pretty high. We see that we are not only aiming now to deliver more safer chemicals, but they also have to be more sustainable, they have to be innovative, and it should increase the global competitiveness. And when I will be addressing here the science, I would like to make it clear that I understand the science not only as academia here, but also as scientific and technical agencies of the European Union, like European Chemical Agency or EFSA, Food and Safety Agency, and also the scientists working in the private sectors, which trying to find the new substances, new materials, new products.
Shimon, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but we have not so much time. So if you can just speed up on your presentation, please, if that's possible. Sorry to say that.
Okay. There is there's several points in the EU chemical strategy, and I prepare some highlights how the science could play the role. But as you see, this is a very complex issue, and I would like to just to show you the big pictures and maybe on some example. For example, the new chemicals which will be now expected in the EU to deliver the goals of the new chemical strategy and the Green Deal have to be sustainable by design. And what does that mean? It does mean that they not only have to be safe, but they also have to support, for example, circular economy, which means they have to be, we will have to, we could reuse those chemicals again and again in the circle, which also brings a new issue, because then we have to be sure that those are really safe, because then they will stay with us for a very long time, and then will be circulated. And also we have to think about the energy efficiency of the substance, which means how many energy we need to produce the molecule, and also whether we could recycle it with less energy. So the new way of thinking about the chemicals is not only focus on their safetiness. It is still main focus, but we also should think broader about it. And there is a lot for science to deliver in this regard. Thank you, Katka. I think that if you share the presentation with the colleagues after, then they could read the slide, and we could also discuss the way how the science could have played a very important role in the EU chemical strategy during the roundtable discussion. And I'm looking forward for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shimon. Yes, that's exactly what we are going to do now. I think it's so. I would also thank you for for the big effort that you have made in preparing these slides, and we will certainly share them with everyone on the HERA website, so they will become available. So can I now please ask we move to the next agenda item of our webinar today, and can I please ask all our four speakers, so Ramon, Shimon, Oke, and Milena, if you can switch on your cameras, and also those who are following us in the webinar today. So far there have been up to 60 people that have been listening to the presentations. So if there is any questions from the audience to our four speakers, you are very much welcome to ask this question. You can either do it directly in the chat, or if you wish now, please open your microphone and camera, and you can start speaking. I probably will give you 1 minute time, and in the meantime, I think it has followed very nicely. You've all four of you have been exploring different aspects that what we think that EU needs in addition to functioning legislation, to functioning infrastructures, to really contribute and make our chemicals management sustainable. But everywhere we looked at the need of interdisciplinarity and collaboration, and it resonated in everybody's talk, be it the Yes, there is Matthew Winken who has a question. Matthew, you have a floor. Please ask your question.
Yes, I will switch on my camera if that works at least.
It
All
does.
right. So my name is Matthew Winken. I'm a professor of toxicology at the University of Brussels in Belgium. I'm also the coordinator of the recently started ONTOX project, a European project that actually will come up with new approach methodologies for systemic repeated dose toxicity testing, at least of chemicals. And actually, well, first of all, of course, I would like to thank the speakers for their very nice presentation of today. The point I would like to bring up is that's the following. So you probably know that there is a major push already since a couple of decades towards animal-free methods for testing chemicals, which is also reflected in several types of legislations, and this will go on in future for sure. So my question to the speaker actually is, or speakers, is how realistic do you think it is to implement such an animal-free methods or methodologies in general in the future chemical management, while keep on securing human health and protection?
Thank you, Matthew, for the question. I don't know whether any of our 4 speakers would like to react. So the question is, how realistic? Okay, I see you. Okay, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's a complicated question, not the least. I mean, I've been working both a lot with talks on animals and talks in vitro. I think the emphasis must be to go along the 3 R's, and the 3 R's is of course not neglecting the animal experiments, because and this is my personal view, is that when we are dealing with the integrated system of a whole body, which is only seen in a full animal, it will be extremely difficult to leave that aspect out. But it really has to be taken care of. One, I mean, 3R doesn't mean elimination of animal experiments. It's really the very refined and necessary animal experiments to be done. So I think we still have a bit to go in order to get only to 3R, no, to an animal-free experimental world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Robert, do you also have a question? Yes, Robert Baruki, coordinator of the HERA project. Yes.
Yes, hi. It's actually a different. I mean, this is a very important question that was asked by Matthew, but I would like to ask more about, in the policy field. I mean, what, I think if we have something like an IPCC, I think it would be great, but it will take a lot of time because it's so difficult politically. What about, the societies, the scientific societies that, have been very much actually influential in making reports and pushing some ideas, and they represent the scientists in a way, and sometimes the scientific consensus, for example, the Endocrine Society, or hopefully other societies too, in their own field would push it. What do you think the role of these society would be? I mean, in the meantime, maybe because they are there.
Thank you, Robert. I don't know whether this question is addressed to Oke or to Shimon. Oke, you want to start? And then I see Ramon and then Shimon probably. Oke, please.
Yeah, well, I worked with this for a long time and was the founding member of IPCP, which is an international organization just in the goal it Martin Sharing has started it. And unfortunately, Robert, I do not think that we will be able to run this through the organizations. I was happy to see what Shimon showed there on the slide, that the first task is to make an intergovernmental organization, and it will take a lot of work, but I think chemicals are worth it, because today chemicals and chemical issues are totally mixed up with issues of IPCC and not the world that is it should be handled in. So that I hope for that to happen, but it's big political decisions to be taken. Maybe Simon and Ramon know better.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ramon.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is certainly an important issue, but in a way, I think that it's central to understand that we cannot just keep inventing new things and completely disregarding what is there, what infrastructures are, what the process has been over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and see what parts have worked or have not worked. I mean, there is a lot of work on monitoring, on science, on cooperation under the Stockholm Convention, under Basel, under Rotterdam, that has been working and could work better. But then to sort of come up with beautiful ideas completely disregarding all of this just sounds like a bit strange to me. I mean, that okay, there might be new demands, new ways. One of the key points that I would also like to highlight is that either we go global or all of this is meaningless. And so the European agency is very interesting, agency in the sense of European activity is a very interesting forum, but we need to think global. And then science can help. But again, there are issues. I mean, look at how vaccines are going today, or how e-waste is going. I mean, science is not the only solution. The solution is basically on the ground and with different people, and many of them have already been pushing for a long time under the existing convention. So I just would very much like to insist that it needs to be rethought, but to have some sort of assessment or understanding of what's going on and what has been going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramon. Shimon, do you want to share your perspective? I think the world of at the global level, there is yet another complexity added, I think, when we try to advocate for collaborative process. Shimon, please.
Thank you. The discussion about the science policy interface and the shape of this interface is still ongoing and during this intersessional process. And you are very welcome to join it. It's it's open for everyone, so all views are welcome. We have, like I already mentioned, the very positive experience of collaboration with the academia while we was preparing the global chemical outlook, which was tasked to the UNEP to carry on. And then we use the experience of many scientists to deliver. And also the SciCam as a whole is a very multi-stakeholder, and the science community is present there as well. Maybe not as visible as we want, but for example, through the NGOs, they deliver the statements and data to build on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shimon. I think I would have an additional question that there's also a comment that came from Jos Bessems from Vito in the chat. But I would, before addressing Jos' comments, which is more technical in nature, I would say what I started to say earlier, that there is also a really pronounced need for interdisciplinarity. And I think to build on what Shimon has just been saying, yes, the civil society participants in the global at the global level have traditionally been very vocal. They deliver their observations or concerns. But it's true that in the global level, there was not so much of the scientific societies that they have been heard. They may be one or two that do participate, and for example, in the conventions process. So it means in the Stockholm Convention, the Basel Convention, in the SciCam process, they are maybe more involved, but not necessarily in the other conventions so much. So probably the role of science should be more pronounced. And I would say that the role of science is to deliver, inputs into the decision making at all levels. And I see, Ramon, you want to react because you do have experience also from your advisory role at the ministry. Please, Ramon.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say very much in the direction of what you're saying, is that one beautiful forum that should be considered is the Convention on Biological Diversity, that is one place where all sorts of interesting voices have a role. They're very much aware of the science. They're very much interested in the science, and there's lots of way to talk with the people involved in the biodiversity convention. And it's also a way to get a handle into impacts from toxics and so on. So there are precedents and ways with this communication has worked and could be. And in particular, this Convention on Biological Diversity is a central point to enlarge the thinking and to get on board people from other environments and parts of the universe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramon. I just see Oke has responded to the question that was, or to the comment raised by Jos Bessems about the that we cannot really manage chemicals if we continue in keeping the approach of individual chemicals, but whether we would go on group-based approach. And so what is the biggest challenge there? I think that can go to three of our scientists here, and I think Szymon can maybe add his perspective, what he sees as a challenge at the policy level when we do approach this question. Jos, you want to complement the question that you wrote in the chat? Jos, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. No, maybe just that what I'm thinking about is also not only technical, but it's also a mindset that we cannot focus anymore on individual substances. Like in the Stockholm Convention, it's all mostly about single substances where we see we are really lagging behind. So it also needs a change in thinking. I think with the policymaker, they need to dare to take the step to accept that we have to go to maybe more mode of action based protection of public health. So that's maybe a little bit more of the nuanciation of my question, behind my question.
Thank you, Jos. So anyone wants to react? Okay, maybe, or Ramon? I know that we have still about a few minutes time, so I think there's maybe a round of views to respond to Jos. Okay, please.
Well,
Yes,
I'm very disappointed in the way things has gone, because as PCB was decided on and became a POP, it was taking the whole group. Then the brominated diphenyl came around, and then they were subdivided into three groups, and now the chlorinated paraffins are subdivided into three groups. And this is not the way forward at all. I knew the Director General of the Swedish EPA in the 70s, and they decided to ban the PCBs because they should not be there. And I'm I mean, it's becoming a little more difficult when you're dealing with phthalates and structurally a little more different type of chemicals. But I think it's rationale behind working through the whole groups. They can always be brought back in if it's shown that they are non-hazardous. So if this is going to happen, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, I'm sure. But I hope it will happen soon anyway.
Yes. Well, this is thank you. This is certainly a central issue in this, but I would kind of like to focus on a few points that have been said here. First, as I mentioned, the Stockholm Convention was already an exercise to pull together substances and not deal with them one by one. I mean, all other instruments at that point were substance by substance. Well, the Stockholm Convention came up with persistent organic pollutants, which was defined by criteria. It was not a substance by substance. And then you have examples like the short chains or the PFAS or the whatever that have been piled together. One of the issues about this is also that, and now you can have non-target analysis and so on, but the point is measurements. What kind of things can you actually quantify and measure? And then some things can be identified as being present, but you don't really have the standards and the ways to actually measure them. So that in a way, I do think that there is lots of sense in terms of integrating, just going further down what the Stockholm Convention started, to put things in larger groups. Yes, of course. And one final point is that the splitting, for instance, of PVDs and the rest under the Stockholm Convention is not some kind of scientific misunderstanding. It's a political issue. The Stockholm Convention is not a logical machine. The Stockholm Convention is a political agreement. So you end up having things that happen which basically don't make any sense, other than it's a way to move forward. I mean, from exemptions to ways of listings to the time it takes to do the listings, there are all sorts of things under, and that's one of the reasons why I would insist that if we want to be effective, we need to understand how things are actually done, not only how they should be done, and what has worked and what hasn't over the recent past. And for instance, there's this whack-a-mole thing with PVDs, that then the Pentas and then the X's and then the this is complete nonsense. But again, that was not lack of science, that was politics there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramon. Milena, you also have your microphone ready if you want to react.
Yes, I just wanted to say that this question that just posed is a very good one, but I would not be so pessimistic, because looking at the efforts done on the pure analytical part, going into all these new tools, development of infrastructure, shared methodologies, comparability is being an issue that is being increasingly put into the structures, and then the approaches. And I think it is too early to do things such as, a group-based limit guidance value, because this will come when there is more science-based information. But this information is coming. And the park, for example, just look at the park initiative that is being put together. This will be for 7 years, and it will be a pan-European, including, of course, expertise from around the world and building on the infrastructure knowledge. And obviously, what I think, like very much what Oki said, we need to build the capacity. We need to have this kind of thing in the curricula, in the undergraduate and postgraduate level, strongly present, because only this will only be possible. And this is limited to a few I don't know, experts and centers of excellence would not be enough. It has to be a pan-European move. And I think we are going towards an HERA just being approved is a very good step forward, as well as Spark and many others.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Milena. I think we have maybe time for 2 minutes overall, because we would need to move on very soon, but I think that for the moment it was a great experience, and I would like to ask Shimon to have a comment on what we've just been discussing. Shimon?
Yes, thank you. It's very just a short comment. Whether we will be able to treat grouping the substance and treat this as a group, the answer is depend whether we're talking about the EU or the global level, because this is also this level of ambition. In the EU, the goal is clear. The EU chemical strategy already show us the direction, and they asking for the group approach. And there is now task of the European Chemical Agency and the science community to work on that, to develop the way to deliver those political vision. And regarding the global scale, I think that we have to wait for more positive examples from Europe, and then we could promote them in a global scale, and then hoping that they will be accepted in the global level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shimon, and thank you, everyone. Let me give you a few aspects what we've discussed today, because I think that every one of you have contributed significantly, and I think there has been a very nice train of thoughts thought, and it has really been demonstrating that what we need is, in particular, the interdisciplinary collaboration. We need understanding of the processes, how they have been working, and what positive experience we already have from them, and to capitalize on those. It has been, I mean, it could not be emphasized enough that the crux of the matter is what we have as the experience and expertise. And it seems that it's easier that if we have the ground understanding in one field, then it can be then spread further and then enrich the others. This is kind of a snowball effect that we could have. And I think that what has been said in reaction to question of your specimens was basically that in some instances EU may be ready to go to more complex matter, but if we add another layer of complexity to trying to get to the global level, it's more difficult to get the political agreement. The scientific agreement can be there, maybe at all levels, but the difficulties of having it approved so that it makes impact are more complicated and complex. And then from the outside, sometimes the decisions at global level may not necessarily seem totally logical and scientifically coherent. Nevertheless, this is the way how they can make impact in the long term. I think what I heard from you is also that you do seem to see the positive way of how things are moving, that we are building the blocks step by step. But I think that to many of us, it's not sufficiently good enough speed that we are moving ahead. Even the directions may be clear. So I think that the role of science should be more pronounced. And I'm just trying to see if there is anybody else who is asking for the floor. But if that is not the case, then I really would like to thank everyone who has been with us until now. And we would be putting up the presentations very soon on the website and on the HERA website. And please, we would also like to inform you once we are ready to consult on what we prepared as the HERA research agenda for the next decade in the European Union. We would also like to involve you and ask you what you think and your opinions. So with that, I would like to thank very much to Oke, Milena, Ramon, and Shimon for your time, for your presentation and enthusiasm, to all the spectators for their presence and questions. And I hope we will see you again at another webinar that HERA organizes in September. So stay tuned, follow us, and thank you everyone. Have a very good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone. We look forward to see you at another webinar series in September. Thank you.
Yeah, Katka, I have a small request for you.
Yes.
When you will be preparing those video recordings,